From the moment The Elder Scrolls Online was announced, there was a line drawn in the sand. We had the believers and the unbelievers, the skeptics and the optimistic. While some greeted the news with excitement, others saw it as an attack on the series that they've grown to love as strictly a single-player experience. Both sides stubbornly hold their ground, and I'd like to make them heard. This video is the first in a two-part series that will explore the general arguments behind the two sides. These arguments have been developed mainly from various forums I frequent. The first, which you are watching now, will argue against The Elder Scrolls Online. I have to admit, I am playing the part of devil's advocate here, seeing that I fall on the side of the ESO believers. However, there definitely is some merit to some of the points that will be made. So without further ado, here are 5 reasons why some people think The Elder Scrolls Online simply doesn't work. The skeptics point out the fact that The Elder Scrolls Online will see a different development studio working on this Elder Scrolls game. Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, and Fallout 3 were all made under the same roof, with the same studio Bethesda, and under the same lead Todd Howard. This will be the first Elder Scrolls game that is developed on the outside. Wouldn't you say that the people who make the games probably have something to do with what makes them great? Yes, ZeniMax Online Studios is a branch of the same company, but that doesn't mean too much. These development studios are housed in completely different locations, so if you've fooled yourself into thinking these two are working side by side, you might want to think again. Sure, the folks at Bethesda are only a phone call away, but that's how ZeniMax Online Studios wants you to believe they're working closely on the project. Honestly, ZeniMax Media Inc., the Big Daddy Corporation, wouldn't want ZeniMax Online Studios bothering the Golden Boys over at Bethesda. They're too busy putting out games of the year. No, ZeniMax Online Studios is very much on their own with The Elder Scrolls Online. That's not to say they're not a capable team, but it is something to think about. It's argued that The Elder Scrolls Online simply won't work, at least not as an Elder Scrolls game, because what we love about the Elder Scrolls games can be found in the details. Whether it's hunting butterflies or silently staring at the authenticity of a slab of meat, we are consistently treated to a painstakingly large amount of small detail. Forget the vistas, simply staring at a table full of food is enough. I'm getting hungry just looking at it. Or how about the fact that those birds circling overhead there aren't just for show? It can be argued that the most memorable parts of the Elder Scrolls universe are small. What stands out more in your mind? The final boss battle in Oblivion? Or the little wood elf that follows you around asking you for back rubs? The skeptics say that details like these simply can't be achieved in an MMO. According to them, limitations of the game engine and subtraction of the single-player experience will kill the art of detail in this test game. For The Elder Scrolls Online, gone will be the days of awesome trick shots with your bow. Gone will be the days of tossing bodies in rivers to gleefully watch them float downstream.
Like for us, you know, the world is the main character of the game, and they're going out and, you know, they'll go to the main quest. I think two types of people. They want to be told what to do, finish the main quest, see the credits roll, and move on to the next game. Yeah. But the majority of our audience is more, it's their game, and they want to go make the character and just do whatever. It's, you know, why we put so much content in it, so that they feel like they have a lot to do, as opposed to, you know, go here, do this. So that's the common thing. You know, I avoided the main quest for this long, and then I finally felt I should see what it's about.
In The Elder Scrolls, the world is the main character. It is argued that The Elder Scrolls Online will simply not work, at least not as an Elder Scrolls game, because an MMO won't produce a world like the ones we've come to expect. At E3 back in 2011, Todd showed us around Skyrim for the first time. The first thing he did was to simply look out over the landscape at a far-off mountain, and mention the fact that mountains aren't just backdrop. If you've played previous Elder Scrolls games, he said, you know you can walk all the way to the top of those things. Hell, chances are you'll run into a few dungeons on your way up, and maybe even a random quest. See, in MMOs we've got a lot of what Total Biscuit would call cardboard scenery. Yes, look at far-off mountains and enormous castles all you want, but don't go looking for adventure there. The scenery in MMOs are just that, scenery, nothing more. The skeptics say that exploration in an Elder Scrolls MMO will be much more limiting, giving the Elder Scrolls Online the impossible task of fleshing out a fully explorable world. If there is one thing we've grown to expect from an Elder Scrolls game, it's a game where you can climb anything and get anywhere.
And as enemies rise faster than allies, salvation cannot come from one hero alone, but from many.
It's epic, but a hero in a world full of heroes isn't much of a hero. If you watched my previous video on the things fans want from ESO, you'll recall the quote I made where Todd Howard talked about the thing that makes Elder Scrolls games, and gaming in general, so different from all other media. It's the sense of pride, a fantasy world where you and you alone are all that stands in the way of Dark Lord so-and-so, makes it so you can't help but take pride in your character. According to this gamer logic, your character is inherently special, and despite the odds, he or she always makes it back home to a loving spouse and an ever-growing trophy room. The skeptics say that this sense of heroism that we love in test games will be utterly lost in an Elder Scrolls MMO. Forget the thrill of rising up the ranks in the Dark Brotherhood or becoming the champion of Cyrodiil. In an MMO, everyone has done the same. An MMO cannot react in the same way as it does in a test game, thus limiting the cornerstone of RPGs, free will. Feel like trimming the population of Riverwood? Sure, go right ahead. Those citizens of Riverwood will stay dead for as long as you play that save game. Skeptics of the Elder Scrolls Online say that being able to affect change in your virtual playground is something of an Elder Scrolls staple. Without this kind of action and reaction, players go from being residents in a virtual space to simply tourists along for the ride. This also goes for quests. Elder Scrolls fans are used to intriguing quest lines and interesting characters like the Daedric Princes. I mean, seriously, how fun are those quests? I feel like I'm doing quests for Satan. The moment we get a Fetch 10 Wolf Hides quest in the Elder Scrolls Online, the game will seem a lot less appealing. Yes, these kind of fetch quests exist in all Elder Scrolls games, but you can always kill the poor sod giving it to you. Some players just won't feel at home in a test game where they don't have the freedom to slit someone's throat whenever they want, or run across a table like this for a few minutes.
What do you need, my friend?
Sure. Take that. Look at Lydia, man. She doesn't know what the hell's going on. The order skeptics place on the Elder Scrolls Online is tall, but really, can you blame them? If there were ever a game that had such deep roots in the single-player genre, it would be the Elder Scrolls. Since I first played Oblivion, I've always dreamed of an Elder Scrolls co-op. I never suspected we'd see an Elder Scrolls MMO before we saw an Elder Scrolls co-op. Taking the Elder Scrolls from a single player to the MMO market, I mean, you can't really make a bigger leap than that. So yeah, skepticism is a very natural reaction. However, like I stated at the start of the video, I fall on the side of the optimist. I have a very clear list of why the Elder Scrolls Online has the potential to be a great MMORPG, with emphasis on the RPG, and that will be explored in the next video of this series, so don't miss it, be sure to subscribe. In the meantime, what do you think of the arguments of the skeptics? As we draw our line in the sand, be sure to voice your opinion in the comment section below. There's also a poll going on right now over at the Elder Scrolls blog asking this very question. I think we'll be interested to see the ratio of skeptics to optimists. Damn it.